The reason why conservatives are celebrating it, and I think it's a valid reason, is that this represents a move back to normalcy. People are tired of having freakish nonsense pushed in their faces every day. Okay, I think I'm the only podcaster in America who hasn't said anything about the Sydney Sweeney American Eagle ad at this point. Not avoiding the topic or anything. It's just that other topics seem more interesting and important to me. And then by the time I got around to this one, it's like everyone has everything that can be said about it has already been said. I'm not sure what I can add that hasn't already been said a million times, but this is a headline segment, and this is one of the big headlines, so we'll cover it briefly. So as you know, the actress Sydney Sweeney has appeared in some very viral American Eagle ads, and the biggest news for me is that American Eagle still exists, because I honestly didn't know that. When I was a kid, you had the triumvirate of preppy clothing stores in the mall, which was Abercrombie and Fitch, what was the other one, Hollister, and American Eagle, and usually they'd be all like near each other. And then you had Aeropostale, which was kind of the poor man's preppy option. And anyway, I assume that all those stores had died when the malls died, but I guess not. So these ads have gotten a lot of attention. Probably seen them, but let's check out a few of them here.
Sydney Sweeney has very Keynes. Sydney Sweeney has very Keynes.
Now, there wouldn't be anything especially notable here if not for the reaction from the left. Woke leftists have spent the last several days screaming hysterically about these ads, in some cases actually breaking down in tears, actually crying because of these American Eagle ads that I just played. They're very upset. They claim these ads are somehow Nazi propaganda. So here's a sampling of their unhinged reactions.
Did American Eagle just run an ad for eugenics?
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has very Keynes.
Totally just talking about denim, right? Just a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman explaining how her good genes gave her personality and purity. I mean, are we really going to pretend that this isn't a little fashy-coded? Look, I'm not saying that Sydney Sweeney personally wrote this ad to revive the Third Reich, but American Eagle absolutely knew what they were doing here.
Should we be surprised that a company whose name is literally American Eagle is making fascist propaganda like this? Probably not, but it's still really shocking. Like, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman is talking about her good genes. Like, that is Nazi propaganda.
You guys are complaining about that Sydney Sweeney jeans ad, so I went and saw it. That's Nazi propaganda. Wow. I thought it was gonna be, like, kind of bad.
If you haven't fully comprehended how bad it is, I need you to open your eyeballs and listen. This is Nazi, pure Nazi. Saying that a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl has good genes is Nazi.
Sydney Sweeney's jeans ad is giving ethnic state propaganda. It is giving dystopian. It is giving 1940s Germany. And they could have had her said anything. She could have just said, I'm hot, drink my bathwater, here are my genes. But instead they had her say, genes are passed down from parents to children. I have good genes. My genes are blue. Why? Yeah, no, that was like the most thinly veiled propaganda I think that I've ever seen.
So that's on TikTok. But by the way, it's not just crazies on TikTok that are saying this. Good Morning America ran a segment this morning on this topic, and here's what they said about it.
Time to check the pulse. We begin with the backlash over a new ad campaign featuring actress Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, the ads are for American Eagle, and the tagline is, Sydney Sweeney has great genes. Now, in one ad, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed actress talks about genes as in DNA being passed down from her parents.
The play on words is being compared to Nazi propaganda with racial undertones.
The pun, good genes, activates troubling historical associations for this country. The American eugenics movement in its prime between like 1900 and 1940 weaponized the idea of good genes just to justify white supremacism.
Despite that backlash, American Eagle stock has been soaring.
So anyone who tells you that wokeness is dead, show them that. Show them that in that Good Morning America segment. A couple of months ago, Vandy Crisp started advertising on the show, and this chip was so good, it made me pay closer attention to the seed oil debate, which I've not paid attention to at all. Our YouTube feeds are full of videos of people telling us how bad seed oils are, and it's in almost all the chips, along with a bunch of other stuff that I can't pronounce. So I can't pronounce anything. So most of the time, you're not getting a chip. It's a chip-like substance made from a chemical cocktail. But Vandy chips, which I hold now in my hand, are just chips. Real, honest-to-God potato chips made the way they used to be made, the way God intended before the food industry got hijacked by scientists feeding us their latest experiment. Heirloom potatoes, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed beef tallow. If you look at the ingredients on the back, that's all you see. That's it. There's not a long list of unpronounceable weird things. It's just that. That's the whole ingredient list. And the tallow isn't some gimmick. It's what chips were cooked in for decades, and there's a reason for that. Vandy didn't reinvent the wheel. They just went back to the version that worked before we let corporations turn us into guinea pigs. Look, you shouldn't have to feel anxious about a snack. You shouldn't have to cross-check labels like you're scanning for radiation. What you want is something that tastes amazing, doesn't wreck your body, and is safe to hand to your kids without wondering what it's doing to their hormones or anything else. That's Vandy. If you're ready to give Vandy a try, you should be. They are by far the best potato chip I've ever had in my life. That's real. Take that to the bank. Go to vandycrisps.com/Walsh and use code Walsh for 25% off your first order. That's vandycrisps.com/Walsh. Code Walsh for 25% off your first order. This is 2020 era hyper radical, insane wokeness that is alive and well. Maybe not well. Maybe it's not doing well, but it is alive, at least. So yes, American Eagle is making Nazi propaganda, we're told. By the way, just one note about that. The CEO of American Eagle has a very Nazi-sounding name. I will admit, I was a little skeptical that American Eagle was making Nazi propaganda, but then I saw the guy's name and I went, okay, yeah, it all makes sense. Because his name is Jay Schottenstein. He's a member of a very wealthy and influential Schottenstein family based in Ohio. So, very Nazi-like. It's giving Nazi. It's giving Nazi, as the kids would say. You know, all those Nazis named Schottenstein. I mean, if I had a dime for every Nazi named Schottenstein that I've ever met, I'd be a very rich man. I'd be so rich that you might confuse me for a Schottenstein myself. No, the CEO is Jewish, obviously, and American Eagle was not attempting to usher in the Fourth Reich. They were actually just trying to sell jeans. So that's all that was about. And I'm guessing that these ads were very successful in that regard. Why are these leftists freaking out then? Well, I do think the number one reason is that, and I'm not the first person to say this, again, it's kind of all been said, but I do think that it's not that hard to decipher what's really going on here, especially when you look at the people who are the most upset about the ads. And so I think that almost all the women panicking over the ads are unattractive. And so this is standard factory grade kind of female envy. They're jealous because she's more attractive than them. And they're worried, even more so, they're worried that, and this is what they're actually crying about, is they're worried that the culture is moving away from this body positivity nonsense where we celebrate ugliness, we celebrate obesity, we celebrate mediocrity. And they're worried about that because they're looking in the mirror and they're going, okay, well, if we're not celebrating ugly mediocrity anymore, I'm in trouble. And so that's what they're worried about. And they should be worried because we are moving away from that at long last. And that's the real significance of these ads, I think. And because, like, in a way, it's always kind of weird to have a bunch of Christian conservatives celebrating advertisements that revolve around sexual innuendo. That's historically, that's not the way that it normally went. Now, obviously, there's nothing graphic in the ads. It's not gratuitous. I don't think it's not pornographic or anything. But it is sexual innuendo, and historically it has not been Christian conservatives championing that kind of content. The reason why conservatives are doing that now, are celebrating it, and I think it's a valid reason, is that this represents a move back to normalcy. People are tired of having freakish nonsense pushed in their faces every day. Ads featuring morbidly obese people who are told that we're supposed to see as beautiful or whatever are nonsense. It's bizarre. It's nonsensical. It's not normal. It's abnormal. And it's disordered. And people are sick of it. This ad uses an attractive woman to appeal to people, especially men. And that's normal. I mean, say what you want about using sex to sell merchandise. It is normal, at least. And it does represent a rejection of wokeness, a rejection of the leftist project. It is a rejection of the left's rejection of beauty and normalcy. So I think that's what's going on here. And I don't know that a Sydney Sweeney jeans ad really warranted a 5-day conversation, but there is a certain cultural significance to it, and I think that's what it is. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.